Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi with Retail Insider. Joining me today is Suzanne Sears, who is president of Best Retail Careers International. Thanks, Suzanne, for joining us today.
Oh, hi, Mario. It's great to see you once again. Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about when it comes to retail and the issue of employment. Everywhere you turn these days, you hear about labor shortages and problems there. You see signs, restaurants, retail or signs hiring. Yep. We're hiring. Come in the door. Start tomorrow or start today, even, right? What can retailers do right now? In this situation where it's hard to find staff, what are the things that they can do to fill their needs?
Well, number one is throw out the old script. And when I refer to the old script, I'm referring to how they present job descriptions. I mean, a lot of them read as if you have to be able to do 10 acrobatic flips and speak Russian at the same time. The criteria is so extensive. And what they don't understand, although I understand that they do it to meet every potential legal challenge they might ever get. So if it wasn't in the job description to fold boxes, then, they don't want to be challenged later by, well, you didn't put it in the job description. So I understand from their perspective, but from a hiring perspective, what happens to candidates is they start to get down and read into this, and they inevitably hit 1, 2, 3 things. It only takes 3 things that they go, well, I don't really know how to do that, or I might not like to do that, so I'll skip to the next one. So I think what retailers are finding is they've been relying on job ads for a stream of people, and it just doesn't happen anymore. People just can't be bothered to do it. So that's one of the things that has to change. You need a simpler, shorter, more candidate-friendly version of a job posting instead of posting a job contract. And that's what it is. It's a job contract that they post. So that has to go. Number 2, they have to get with the times a little bit, in the sense that, like Amsterdam, over in Europe, people work closer to 29 hours a week on average. We didn't know that, did we? But that's the truth. They work roughly 30 hours a week. Nobody's really looking for 40 hours a week anymore. And 40 hours a week is getting to be a tough sell. So I think retailers have to reformat their calculations in terms of man hours. They plan their budget based around man hours. Your typical mall is open 72 hours a week. So they estimate, well, with breaks and unforeseen situations, maybe we could just hire 3 people at 40 hours a week, and that gives us more than enough coverage. And it doesn't, because I think you'll find in malls right now, you can walk in at 8 o'clock at night and some stores are already closed. Yeah, they are, especially in Ontario. Some stores are no longer opening on Sundays. That's another issue. Whereas if you stopped insisting on this 40 hours and you said, okay, I'm willing to hire 2 or 3 25-hour or 30-hour people, all of a sudden they'd find they have a deeper pool of people to work with, especially the 55 and up crowd, which is how Stats Canada defines older workers, so to speak, are 55 and up. And many of them don't think it's worth working 8 or 16 hours a week, but it's probably okay to work 24, 30. And they're more than eager to do that. But those jobs, they aren't there. Yeah. So I think they have to relax the demands about, especially in retail, it's all on your feet. And the older you get, the harder it is, you see. So that's a secondary thing. They should focus on things that don't cost them anything. This insistence, it's old as the hills. At retail, you can only have a half an hour lunch, really needs to go. It's not enough rest time. It's not enough time to check in on the kids. It's not enough time to go to a doctor's appointment. They really need to be more flexible in terms of scheduling. things like 4 hours here, 4 hours there, flex time. There's no reason a lot of these retail outlets can't be more flexible in the scheduling. If you're open 72 hours, there's plenty of flex built in there where people could do 4-hour shift here, 4-hour shift there. Flexibility, it's just more work. And that's why they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So you've got hours, job descriptions, and then of course the big bear is pay.
Yeah.
It comes down to pay. Anyone who thinks that the minimum in Ontario is $15, a little bit more, that attracts quality people, are just dreaming. Basically, unless the job is $20 an hour more, and even then the pickings are thin. I would say the average hire at store level is probably around $25 an hour, with or without commission. So when you're there with 2019 wage budgets, trying to compete in a 2022 market, tick the boxes. Too much standing, not enough flexibility. Let's get on to the next thing, which is when we talk about flexibility, let's talk as well about flex time in the sense of leave of absences. Most retailers have stood firm. You get your 2 weeks off and that's it. Don't even ask for a leave. Well, it's easier just not to take the job, but people consider life experiences to be of much higher value than they did in the 50s and 60s, where you're lucky to have a job. They don't feel lucky to have a job. What they truly feel like is, you're lucky to have me. Companies that say, well, there's no possible way you could ever take 4 weeks in a row off. They're just losing out. People are going on sabbaticals. And then, we have the issue of inflation and how that impacts retail workers. Toronto is cruising in very close to $2,800 a month for an apartment. Well, if you're paying minimum wage, that's your entire wage.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So by default, you have to commute.
Yeah. How difficult though is it, for obviously the huge retailers,
Right.
it's not a big deal to increase wages by dollars, a couple of dollars an hour or whatever. But for the smaller retailers who are struggling now with their own costs rising, right? How difficult is that, to find people, because it's tough for them to raise wages.
Well, the smaller guys have a built-in advantage because they usually have better work-life balance. So one thing we're seeing in staffing is the resurgence of Main Street retailers being able to attract people. They aren't open till 9:30 or 10 at night. Most of them aren't open. Some of them are down to just being open Thursday and Friday nights, back to the old school way. So this better work-life balance is very attractive in retail. So sometimes even with a slightly lesser wage, I can find people who say, if I don't have to work in a mall, drive to a mall, if I can have a little family environment on the street, I'm a happy person. And those jobs are actually easier to fill.
You know what? It's interesting, right? Because I'm seeing, also, it's like the small, I don't say this in a negative way, the small town.
No, it's just, that's the way it is.
Small town mentality where Mondays the stores are closed, right? It's stuff like that. Or, the month of July, our store is closed because they're on holidays, right?
Absolutely. That's making a comeback. I always had to laugh. If you live in Burlington, Ontario, and you're a shoemaker, you can't work on Mondays. That's a bylaw, right? And I used to laugh at that, but now I see it makes sense. There's not so many shoemakers around, are there? So they regulate the work-life balance. The smaller guys are offering a family environment, and guess what? Most of them are accessible by transit. And this is huge because the cost of, say, let's say living in Oakville and driving to Yorkdale.
Yeah.
I mean, the slowness of it to begin with, but beyond that, the sheer cost of filling your gas tank exceeds the value of the job. Although Yorkdale doesn't have problems, I'll say that right now, but you take the downtown core of Toronto, Vancouver, oh my gosh, Vancouver, it's wicked.
Yeah.
The only way you can actually attract talent is by making it really easy to get there. And the smart center type concepts that are a little bit out in the burbs, where you must have a car, or big box that is far away, excuse me, exactly the same. People won't drive for that category of work.
Yeah.
They won't, not anymore.
So, Suzanne, not to put you on the spot, but the crystal ball things, this issue of a labor shortage in general,
Right.
in the industry, do you think it's going to get worse? People my age, in that era, more and more of us are going to be retiring. That exacerbate the problem. Sorry.
Well, I mean, in the United States, 4 million people a month are quitting their jobs. In Canada, it's 100,000 a month. The majority of them are certainly what the Stats Canada calls the older workers. Males over 55 are abandoning work in every category, in record numbers. Like, where are all the men going? Women 55 and older are picking up these more part-time jobs, so they're a source. So now we get into the issue of the people, basically 35 to 55, midlife, I guess you'd say. They're sticking, but they're looking for advanced wages. They're looking for advanced career options. They're not content to take a job and still be there 10 years later. So retailers have to get much more clever about creating career paths for them, and they will stay on. If not, they'll leave. Now, is that enough? Well, it's been going on for some time, where the youth don't see retail as a viable career. Back in the day, you would go enter an organization like Eaton's and start right away in their development training programs. And you could be in those training programs 2 to 5 years. And they'd be carefully training you, moving you up the ladder. And, I think probably by 2008, when the crash came, everybody cut it out. It was an expense they figured wasn't necessary. But you can't indefinitely raid your competitors' staff to fill your slots. So retailers need to get back into the training business, and they need to get back into making retail seem like it's a valuable career. So is the problem going to get worse? It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And there's only one way out: better work-life balance and more money. That's it. So whatever they have to do to offset those increases, they're just going to have to do, or start closing shorter hours.
So let's talk on the flip side of things. Recently we had big news. Shopify
Right.
had huge layoffs there. Were you surprised by that?
Well, all the American companies are doing it, Microsoft, Google, etc. So in that sense, no. The minute your share price goes down, you want to keep your investors happy. So the easiest way to make the numbers look better is to slash bodies. I think they'll come to regret it. I think they're losing a lot of talent. But the talent itself, while their feelings may be hurt, probably won't be out of work unless they choose to be for anything more than 30 days. We had such a tech talent crunch in this country to begin with, and Shopify took a lot of those people out of the market. Yeah. So a lot of smaller businesses that need tech will be very happy about this. But the impact on retail is big. Shopify was expand. And I think I mentioned to you that massive project, The Well, in Toronto, which is a rental, ownership, and retail complex, was relying upon Shopify to take up a lot of the real estate. And, if a huge portion of those people are not going to actually work there, all the merchants that signed on are now in a deficit. They're not going to get the bodies walking the mall that they expected. So it has a direct impact on retail, but I think the workers will be okay. I don't think they're going to be out of work long.
Yeah. Anything else, Suzanne, that when it comes to retail and staffing and employment that is striking you these days as, I don't know, that's interesting that what's going on?
I think the number of people who are saying to me, listen, I've been a store manager my whole life, I'd like to try buying. Or the number of people who've said, I've been in head office my whole life, I'd like to try operations. The career shifting is really, really unique to me. I mean, what you're also seeing is a lot of people who really think that this is a time to start their own boutique businesses.
Yeah.
And some of the malls are smart. They're opening up locations to let these small business people come in and co-op and share some space and sell their wares. I think the spirit of retail is either in you or it's not. So for those that have that spirit, a lot of them are deciding now's the time. They're going to take a stab on their own. Now, most won't make it, but a lot will. And I think that's fresh. And what I also love is what the retail schools are delivering to us, like Ryerson and your school out there in out west in Montreal. The people in those programs are passionate about retail. So I'm encouraged. So we'll see.
All right, super. Well, thanks, Suzanne, for joining us today.
My pleasure. We could talk all day, but that's enough for today. It's an
interesting topic, isn't it? And
it is
fascinating to watch what's unfolding in that industry right now.
It's always moving. It never stands still.
Yeah.
Okay, Mario, thanks for inviting me.
All right, super. That was Suzanne Sears, president of Best Retail Careers International. I'm Mario Toneguzzi with Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.